Good morning, everybody. Hope you've had a good week, and I appreciate you being here this morning. If you will, like, share, comment on the post, and then if you are able, you can look with me in the book of Genesis. Still in chapter number 1, we'll be looking at verses 11 through 13 today. And here we have these words, and just again, part of the creation, the third day. And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth. And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kind, trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Those three verses are loaded. There's a lot of things that I want to point out. I'm not going to be able to completely expound on all of them, but I do want to point them out to you, and you can think about them. You can maybe do a little research for yourself, and again, meditate on these. One of them, as I look at it, I'm noticing that again we see that everything God is doing is leading up to provision for man. When He produces plants and fruits and trees, not only the food aspect of it, but we understand now the process of how plants convert and create oxygen, how those plants their roots hold the soil in place, of all the things that the trees, the fruits, the plants, all these things did to benefit man. Second thing I notice is that he says in verse 11, this is what I want to happen. I want the earth to sprout plants and vegetation and trees, and I want that to happen. And then we have the simple statement, and it was so. God said it, it was done. The earth didn't argue and say, no, I don't think we ought to do it that way. The plant said no, it didn't say, no, I don't want to grow there. God spoke, and it was so. And then it elaborates on it in verse 12. It goes on, and just as what it takes what God had said was going to happen in verse 11 and verse 12, when it says, verse 11 says, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed. Verse 12 says, the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed. He said, fruit trees. And we see here their own kind, and trees bearing fruit. And so everything God said in verse 11 transpired in verse 12. And so we see it all being done. And then when it was complete, God said, it's good. Not, nah, that'll do. That's all right. No, God said it was good. And so there's just so many wonderful things. But one, let me really drill down on just a moment. All of those things honestly deserve attention, and perhaps we could have spent a week just analyzing the parts of this verse. But the one I want to point out to you here is that he said, let there be vegetation and plants yielding seed, fruit trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth. Couple things that are important here, I think, is when we look at this, the word seed appears about 60 sometimes, I think it is, in the Bible. The vast majority of them are here in the book of Genesis. After its kind shows up 10 times in the book of Genesis. And so what we see here is from the beginning, God establishing order. The vegetation, the plants were going to yield seed. Well, what was going to come out of that seed? Tomato seeds, for example, produce more tomatoes. Apple seeds produce more apples. These plants gave seed. These fruit trees gave seed according to their kind. God established order. He not only establishes order, but those seed then allow reproduction. And so again, we see God caring and taking care of His creation, taking care of man by having these fruit reproduce. But again, for me, the real significant thing here, and especially I'm just little warning for those of you, I'm about to be unpolitically correct. God said here from the beginning, these trees are going to produce trees and fruit of their kind. There's order to society. This world we live in today, where we have all this conversation about gender and gender fluid and homosexuality and all those things. For me, in many ways, these verses right here eliminate that conversation. We don't see these trees produce fruit of their kind. Two guys together, two women together can't reproduce. It's impossible. You don't reproduce just in you don't this thing of, well, we're not going to assign a gender at birth. We're going to let them decide. No, God established order in His creation, and that's shown in DNA. That's shown. Science has discovered DNA, and again, God created all this, and He put order to it to benefit man for our good. And so in this, and again, when He got done with it, He said it's good. He said this is the way it's supposed to be. And so again, that maybe I'm off on a tangent. That's all right. But again, these verses are some good verses. I hope maybe you'll take some time and think about them, look into them yourself. Again, how God takes care of man here with these plants and vegetation, how He provides seeds so that these plants can be reproduced. So again, that it's in its own kind. He brings order to society. That when He spoke it, it was so, just as He spoke it. Shows His authority. And when it was all done, He said it was good. This is the way it ought to be. There ought to be order to society. There ought to be order to the human life. There ought to be order in organisms and creatures. There's order to that, and God establishes that. There's order to the family. One of the things we see in the whole story of creation, not just here, is that God established order to creation, order to the family, order to the genders, order to male and female, the roles, to marriage. From the very beginning, God establishes order. Man has filled it with disorder. Let's consider what God did and what God said was good, and let's go with what God says. Have a good one. We'll see you here Monday morning.